Audio on Wallax Lives. I think it's time to play a little 7 Days to Die. Alright. I am prepared to take this on again. Only this time, I'm gonna push all the way through. Zombies, where are you? Ooh. Wasn't expecting that. Okay, apparently punching isn't working well for me. Crap. When I said I was gonna push all the way through, I kind of thought maybe I would make it through a little bit. Not get killed off immediately. Ooh. Listen, mouse. I appreciate the sliding a little bit funny there. I don't know what that was, but my mouse did slide a little bit funny when I went to shoot that guy. Okay. Hi. Listen, I don't need people wandering in from the outside. You guys didn't even make red bumps on my compass up there. Oh, you know what? Those are useful. Take that. Yes. So... What the heck? That guy hit me, and I wasn't even in the room with him. Whoa, that is a big wolf. Crap. Oh, I thought he was dead. He wasn't dead. Are we dead now? Woo. Why do you keep shooting off to the side of these people? What are you doing today? It's like my brain is like, yeah, move that aimer over a little bit so you can see. There you go. There you go. Now it's out of the way. Now you can shoot him. That's not helping anybody. This is a weird little place. So, let's see what we're going to talk about today while I'm doing this. I'm playing D&D this week. It's been a couple weeks, man, since I think 3 weeks since we managed to actually get the group together. I don't know. The other guy hasn't said a word to any of us in over 2 weeks now. I need to send him a message, ask him what's going on, apparently. We've been really playing this Gloomhaven game, and so... we've been more paying attention to that, so when he doesn't show up, it's fine. We just play Gloomhaven. I did I did chat with the, really? Listen, stop wandering in from outside. I mean, I don't think a snake Just gonna show up like this, alright? Sneak. Also, let's go ahead and get this repaired because it's starting to look a little weak there. Alright, how we doing? Did we, I can hear the hum. Ooh, new book. Military stealth boots. Craft military stealth boots which have no stamina penalty moving and reduce noise from movement. That could be useful. Oh, I think the dog just gassed me. Oof. Oh, dog. The Hunter mod schematic. Nice. Um, yeah, so I don't know. Gloomhaven pretty much plays the same as D&D, just okay. Let me not say it that way. Gloomhaven, uh, Gloomhaven is a turn-based RPG that uses a card system to determine what happens, and basically you have a deck of cards associated with your character. Um, and whoa, my guy just got really slow. Was my concussion kicking in? How do I get in this room? I want in this room. And so it definitely doesn't play like D&D. But what I meant by that was you play it. I mean, you can play it by yourself, but you can also play it as a group of people, up to 4, and so there's I don't know why. I don't know why I'm always the one that's got to play 2 characters, but even in this, I'm playing 2 characters, and um, so there's 3 of us playing. So I play 2 characters, um, and they have different abilities, and uh, the card system makes it a little weird because your card has a top half and a bottom half, like it's split down the middle, and there are different abilities on top and bottom, and you play the top half of one card and the bottom half of another card each turn. Um, and you can say, your top half is just a default attack, and your bottom half is just a default move. Um, and I'm not going to go through all the rules because it's pretty complicated-ish. Not pretty complicated, but it's a little complicated. That's not the point of my story. The point of my story is that you're playing these characters based on their cards, but you're also choosing what abilities they use each turn, and so and then the cards have a number on them that indicate when you're going to take your turn, and so you just take them in numerical order, right? So, like if um, your first card has a 24 on it, and your second card has an 89 on it, then you go by the 24, right? And and so um, that determines when you take a turn, and then the bad guys, they have a number, and they get different abilities each turn, and so you never know exactly what's going to happen each turn. So it's a bit like a puzzle game, and you get experience and you go up levels, and get new cards to add to your deck, and you're only allowed a certain number of cards in your deck, so you have to keep swapping out the different cards. well, you don't have to swap out, I guess. You could stay with the basic abilities you started with. Even the basic abilities though, when you first start the game, you like, okay, I play this character called a Brute, and I think he starts with 12 cards, but he's only allowed to have 10 in his hand, in his deck. And so you have access to those abilities, but once you start a dungeon, you can only have the 10 you chose to take into the dungeon with you, right? And so, you know, anyways, it's weird in a way because even though you're um limited to those abilities, I always forget. I can't shoot through that. I can shoot the door, but I can't shoot through the door. Uh, and and so it's crazy how similar our play styles are, even though we're now limited by the cards that we have access to. Uh, when I say similar, I mean similar to the way we play D&D, not similar to each other. And so, man, having the one guy who's always giving us fits playing this game with us, right? The DM, the other DM, um, who I've lamented about his play style of D&D and his DMing uh forever now. Um he plays the same way in this game and it drives me crazy. So one of the tricks is you have your limited deck, right? And so if you have to play two cards every turn and uh and you have 10 cards to start with, that means that you're going to run out of cards in 5 turns. And it can take us more than, I would say that it usually takes us around 20 turns to get through or more, to get through a dungeon. And so what happens is you take your played cards, you so you've got 3 piles. You've got cards in your deck, you've got your discard pile, and then you've got your burn pile. Here I am getting into the thing, and it's important, I guess. And so, um, some cards when you use them, you use like their super powerful ability on the card. Then you might have to burn the card, and so that means you can't use that card again in this dungeon. Um, or if you take damage, you can burn a card from your deck to stop the damage. If you don't have enough, because if you take enough damage, you die. Not die, but you're exhausted, so you're kicked out of the. You're done in the dungeon. While the rest of your team scrambles to try and survive without your help, right? And so, okay. Usually there's a path, and I appear to be missing the path. Okay, I see a door open. That's where I came from, though, right? Right? This is where I came from. Okay, let's go in here then. And so you can run out cards pretty easy. And if you don't have enough cards in your deck, if you don't have cards in your deck, and they're on your discard pile, then if you take damage and you need to block it by burning a card, then you have to burn 2 discard cards. Um, and so it can get quite expensive to stay alive. Um, And so you have to be careful with your cards. You have to spend your cards in the right way, and then weird. I don't know where to go. And then you're trying not to let your cards get burned, and then when you run out of cards and they're all in your discard pile, then you got to shuffle your discard pile. Well, you take a card, you burn it, then you shuffle your discard pile, and you start over. And so there's a limited number of turns that you have before you're out of cards. And so when you're in these dungeons, most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, the quest is going to be something like kill all enemies in the dungeon, right? So you need to be hitting things hard and fast and making them all dead and moving on your way because you've got a limited number of abilities and cards. I think I did that last time. I shift and then hit the jump button, but instead of jumping, I just run across through there. Alright, I'm gonna scrap these extra ammo I don't use. Yeah, I'll just turn them into their components. So we're always, trying to make things dead. That's the goal. Make it dead. Oh, didn't realize you guys were coming in through there. Okay. Crap. And you know, so we're like, gotta kill these bad guys, gotta kill these bad guys, gotta move up and do as much damage as possible. Try to get the bad guys to come to you, do as much damage as possible, use those cards that do damage on the top, damage on the bottom, hit those bad guys, take them down. All the bad guys are like, they're always seem to be shielded, right? So they're already gonna reduce the amount of damage you do. As you go up levels, your cards might get more powerful, which makes it a little easier to get through the shielding. But not all your abilities are very good. And some of them are super situational. And so we've got the regular guys from our D&D group minus the one. And so here we are. I've got two characters for whatever reason. I'm trying to throw out as much damage as possible each turn, or specific buffs to try and help people, or pushing through, blocking places. Why can't I get up here? Blocking the places where the bad guys are trying to get through. Pinch them off so they can't get to everybody else. Uh, Basically, my characters are the Brute, which is a warrior, and the Scoundrel, which is a thief. No, you know what? I'm not even playing the Scoundrel anymore. I'm on the character called the Nightblade, because your characters have personal quests, and once they've completed their personal quests, they retire. So you have to choose a new character. I think you can just use the same class over again, but it's a new character. Like you can't use the same name over again, because your character retires, which is interesting. Plus, as you play the game, you unlock new classes, and so we've unlocked two or three new classes now, which is cool. Uh, it's a pretty cool game. It's a tough game, and so here we are. Oh man, he did kind of make me mad. The other guy, the DM guy. Uh, so we're playing this dungeon, and the dungeon is to kill all the bad guys. Right? Yep, kill all the bad guys in every room. And so we're trying to do that. And so for whatever reason, he does stuff just like he does in D&D. Instead of doing damage on his turn, he'll do a tiny heal to himself and then run into a different room to hide. And I'm just like, yeah, why aren't you casting your damage spells? And so then he says these words. He says to us, look, I this 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 dungeon would have been easier if I'd swapped out my cards for the AoE cards. And but I didn't know if we were going to need AoE cards, so I set my deck up to do high amounts of damage. Whoa. Wasn't expect to see one of those guys in here. I set my deck up to do high amounts of damage to a single target. He doesn't have any abilities. That's not true. He almost doesn't have any abilities that do more than like 3 points of damage, which would be fine if everybody in the dungeon wasn't already shielded at like 1 or 2 points. And so then I'm like, okay, he's not doing big damage to anybody. Like I have cards to do 5 damage, 6 damage, right? I've geared my guy to do big amounts of damage. I don't know what he has available in his deck because oh, I'm not switching to the pistol. I don't like pistols. Um Too slow for me. I need my machine gun because I'm a bad aim. And so I'm just like, what are you talking about? You don't do big damage to a single target ever. That's not what made me angry though. This is what made me angry. So again, we are every every dungeon feels like you're just able to complete it. Every dungeon. I don't think we've ever done a dungeon. Yep, I don't think we've ever done a dungeon where we come out to the end of it and we're like, yeah, that was an easy one. Every dungeon feels like you're probably going to fail it because you run out of cards, you get killed, whatever. We failed dungeons. You fail a dungeon, you just go back to town, and I think you get to keep your XP and any treasure chest you opened, but um, you basically have to go and start over. And so we're at the end of this dungeon, and one of the problems we've got is that well, it's not a problem, but we're faced off against these oh, nice. Tier 5 tactical. I just got an upgrade. Now I need to get that silencer that I like to put on here. And so we're looking at the thing, and one of the things you get are perk points. And so when you get enough perk points, every time you go up a level, you get a perk point. And then every time you go up a level, you get a perk level. And then you can use it to alter your additions deck. So when you lay an attack card, you also lay an addition card to it. And so like your attack card might be do 5 damage, right? Most of the time there's more things involved, like target 2 enemies, do 2 damage, range of 3. Um, and then the card will be called like spare daggers, and so you're throwing your spare daggers basically. And so the addition card you lay that for each enemy hit, and it'll say like +1 to the attack, no damage, -1 to the attack, right? And so it might say add stun to the attack, add um I forget, I've got a few now. Piercing, add piercing to the attack, which ignores their shields, which is nice. Since almost everything seems to be shielded. And uh so so if you every dungeon you get an extra quest that's just for your character. And so you complete what's on that quest, and it's usually stuff like only take short rests during the mission. Short rest is where you take your discard pile and you. Actually, I think the short rest burns a random card, so you shuffle your discard pile and then you take them off top and it's burnt. Or you can do a long rest, which sets your initiative to 99, and you're just out a turn. Short rest discards a random card, but you get to go ahead and take your turn immediately. Well, you get to play 2 cards that turn. A long rest means you're just gonna skip a whole round, and and so yeah, so we're setting up, and and so the perk points let you alter that extra deck, and which is nice. You get 3 of them. You get to remove a -1 from your deck, or you get to add a stun to your deck, or something along those lines. Add a +3 to your deck, and so they're nice to have, but they're not the be all end all, right? Uh, and so the DM, the wizard guy, he plays the wizard at the moment, and he oof, man, terrible aiming again. You were doing so good. And so his perk is earned by not picking up any money or opening any chests during the dungeon. Uh, you need to open the chest though, because often you get new items in the store, or it adds a new quest. And so pretty much if there's a chest, you want to try and open it, right? And so we're at the end of the game. We're at the end of the dungeon, and we're struggling in this dungeon a little bit. I mean, every dungeon feels like that. Every dungeon feels like you're struggling. And so we're not sure that we can do enough damage with the cards we have left to take out all these slimes that are attacking us. And so they happen to get positioned so that I could use this ability I have called I don't remember what's called, but it hits 2 guys in a row. And so I can hit 2 of these slimes in a row and kill both of them. And so I start picking my cards, because you pick your 2 cards, and then the wizard guy, the DM, he goes, so I'm gonna use one of my abilities to take out those 2 guys next to you. And I'm like, okay, but I was gonna use an ability to let me hit 2 of them at once, since they're right next to me, and then move up to this next slime. And so he's like, well, I got my card, and it'll definitely kill those 2 guys. Remember, this is the guy who does big amounts of damage, right? And so he wants to hit 2 guys who have 1 hit point. Whereas my card does 3 damage to 2 people in a row. His card does 2 damage to whoever he picks. And so, on top of that, he didn't want to move, because if he moved, he'd have to pick up the chest. And so he had to get that perk point. Need 3 of them to actually get a perk level, but he had to get that perk point, even though it meant that we were going to have to sacrifice some of the damage we were going to do so that he didn't have to get the chest. One of the rest of us could get the chest. We only had 3 guys left, so it was me and the healer and him, because the Nightblade guy that I've got now ran out of cards, because he's brand new and I don't quite understand how to use him yet. And he doesn't have very many cards. He's like, no, 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 I'm gonna get those guys. I'm like, okay, fine. Then I'm gonna alter what I do, but what speed are you gonna go at when you're gonna take your turn? Because that's one of the things you can do, is you can plan out when you're gonna take your turn. And so he tells me the number on his card, and so I choose my abilities in the order necessary to go after him. Uh, because I have an ability that lets me move up to 4 spaces, and every space I move gives me an attack of that number of spaces. And so if I can move 4 spaces, it gives me a 4 attack. I can only move 2 spaces, so I was only going to 2 attack of it. But I had to have those 2 guys that I was going to stab in front of me killed because you can't move through an enemy. And I needed to move through those spaces to even be able to interact with the bad guys, or to be able to get any attack on that movement. Like, I specifically needed those guys out of my way. Uh, because I wasn't going to do the attack that... Oh, this is trash. I don't want buckshot. Because I'm going to be able to do the attack that hit those 2 guys at once, right? And, man. So then we get into the mission, or into the round, and he's like, all right, I'm going to hit these 2 guys over here. I'm like, no, you're not. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, you're going to hit the 2 guys that you said you were going to hit because I need them out of my way. But I can do damage to these guys over here. Yeah, no, that's not what you whined about that you needed. You have to take out these guys, at least the 1 guy in front of me now, so that I can get into position to attack that other guy, because you made me change up my plans, and now I need to I need to go with the new plan. My cards demand that I go and attack this other guy because you told me you were going to take out these 2 guys and I couldn't do it. And so I have altered my plan, and we're in the round now. We're locked in. We can't change our cards now. You don't get to choose a new plan after we agreed to a plan in a game where every card play matters. I'm like, what are you doing? What do you mean? No, you gotta kill... But I can do... No, it doesn't matter if you can do damage to that guy. You said you were gonna take out these guys. You asked me to alter my plan. I altered my plan, and now you're gonna ruin my ability to do anything. That's what you're gonna do. All right, but I could have hit this other guy over here. Yeah, that's not what you said you were going to do before. I said you could just hit those guys over there, and then I was going to use my attack to hit those 2 guys over here. But you were like, no, I have to be able to hit... Oh, crap. Dang it. I didn't realize that guy was going to be so much faster than me. I was just trying to back off a little bit. I ruined it. I ruined my plan. Look at that. Well, I did not complete the tower. You can spawn on my bed. I brought my motorcycle with me. It's kind of like this. It's kind of just like this. When you fail a dungeon, you go back to your base. You get to keep your XP and stuff. You know. But, I don't understand. Why would you even... why would you even go through the hassle of arguing... Oh, man, but I also used up most of my bullets. Why would you go through the hassle of arguing that you had to have a specific thing done, and then and then try to change it once you were actually in the thing? I don't understand. It's so frustrating sometimes. It's I just like, come on, man. You said you were gonna attack these 2 guys in front of me. I changed my plans so that I could attack the guys behind them. You're basically limiting me to waste my big attacks on a guy with 1 hit point because you said you had to kill the guys with 1 hit point. And now you're like, oh, well, I can hit these other guys with more hit points over here with my 2 damage attacks. Yeah, he'll say stuff like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna take these guys out," and then he'll do 2 damage, and they'll have like 12 hit points, right? And you're like, "You're not taking anybody out." I wish you'd stop saying that. Like, every time you say that, I think you're actually gonna do what you say you're doing, but then you just do the tiniest attack, or you're like, I've got an attack that can really hurt these guys, and then when it gets to your turn, you move 2 spaces, heal yourself for 1 hit point, and then move to another room. I didn't want to repair that. I wanted to scrap that. Ugh. Also, I totally missed the stuff on this row. But yeah, so that was our Gloomhaven this week. It was crazy. Uh, all right, real quick. The other two things I wanted to talk about. I know you're like real quick. Two things, not gonna happen. It will though. I just want to say I watched Don't Look Deeper. I thought it was okay. It's a sci-fi movie where this girl thinks that she might be an android. Um, it was okay. It wasn't really spectacular. I've seen better versions of this. Like almost anything is a better version of this. I mean, it wasn't bad. It wasn't exciting and nothing really happened. I mean, a lot of stuff happened, I guess, for the storyline of her being an android, but it wasn't really anything but just being like, oh, look, you're an android, your whole life is a lie, kind of thing. It was okay. It was just okay. The other one I watched was called Snow Falls, and that one was a little dumb. Um, I really like people trapped in a small room, not small room, but a small area together, and then watch them fall apart and blame each other and that kind of stuff. I don't know why it's just like my favorite horror genre, and and if they just work together, then they'd be fine, but they never do. And so it wasn't even one of those. I thought it was going to be because it's a group of friends go to a cabin and a freak snowstorm strands them in the cabin for days with no food and dwindling supplies, right? And so I'm like, "Oh, that sounds like my kind of thing." Um and then it was just like, "Oh, look, the snow's falling. We are now trapped. Did you know that hypothermia can do these things to you? Ah, yes, we all experience hallucinations from the hypothermia and die. The end." I'm just like, okay, so there's like no struggle. Like they died for the dumbest reasons. Like it happened too fast. They just it was too fast. It was like, oh, the snow's falling. I'm having hallucinations now. We ate snow. It might be a virus. And then this is all right. This is the one thing I wanted to bring up when I talked about this. At the end of the movie, uh, now now it's supposed to be so much snow that they can't get out, right? This police officer drives up to the cabin and he comes walking up and there's like one survivor, right? And he's like, "Are there any other survivors?" That's the first words out his mouth. He doesn't know anybody's dead. There's nobody visible that's dead. What does he mean? Are there any other survivors? Yeah, so it was dumb. It was just people dying for nonsense reasons. Like you can't get that cold that fast when you also have warm clothes and a fireplace. It's just I don't understand. Um, I don't know. Maybe I wasn't paying enough attention to the movie, but I've gotten lost. I was gonna go sell that stuff. But yeah, it was a dumb one. Um, uh, and I guess a super quick tag on. I feel like I got like a minute left here. Uh, I watched the new Velma series. I didn't think it was as bad as everybody's making it out to be. It seems like, I mean, it's not great. I'm not saying it's great. I'm saying that it's at best mediocre. It's probably not as good as that Don't Look Deeper, and I thought that Don't Look Deeper was mediocre. But everybody seems to be getting really mad about the show, and I don't understand. Like, I'm not a Scooby Doo fan, so I don't care that they're using the Scooby Doo characters. Scooby Doo's a weird one though. It's not like when I get mad about the Wheel of Time, because the Wheel of Time said they were going to be as faithful to the book as they could be, and then they're absolutely not. Scooby Doo has had so many different versions of it that completely rewrite what it means to be Scooby Doo that I don't know that it matters that there's a different version of Scooby Doo out there. Like, I just, there's no Scooby Doo in it, which is why it's called Velma, I guess. But uh I just I don't know. I don't know why everybody's so mad because some of the jokes are actually funny, and I kind of enjoy the way they're making fun of internet culture and movie culture and stuff like that. And even the show itself is making fun of itself. Um so it's a very weird collection of like meta humor, which I usually don't care for, but some of the jokes are pretty funny in this, and not super haha I'm laughing my head off funny, but like I laughed several times. It's to me it's funnier than Rick and Morty. I don't find Rick and Morty funny at all, but it's along the same lines as Rick and Morty. uh so I really don't understand the hatred for it, because it's basically a Velma focused version of Rick and Morty. They're like, "Oh, she's so mean. Have you watched Rick and Morty? How is everybody loving Rick and Morty? Because they're just mean." Um, at least some of these jokes I find humorous. Like I thought, I don't know. This really tickled me was Velma's having a conversation with her dad and his girlfriend, and in the middle of it, she's like, "Oh, the baby moved," and so they're like, she's an Instagram person, and so she like immediately starts switching into different poses and outfits and having Velma's father take pictures of her while they're supposed to be having a conversation with Velma. And I thought that was a a fairly decent joke about like internet families, you know. I just that that cracked me up a little bit. But man, you know, you talk to somebody who's a fan of Scooby Doo, and they're just like, "Nah, I can't believe they're doing this." I'm like, "Have you watched any Scooby Doo like ever?" Like, I don't understand. Every version I've seen of Scooby Doo is weird and different from the other versions of Scooby Doo. Um, so why can't this be a different weird version of Scooby Doo? I don't get it. They're just being mean to Scooby Doo. I'm like, no, that's not the point. The point is that like Velma's a mean character who's got to learn to not be mean. That's the point of the show, it seems like, while they make fun of everybody. I don't know, but yeah, it's a dumb show. I probably wouldn't recommend it to anybody. I just wanted to say that I found it kind of funny. I watched 2 episodes of it. I don't know if I'll watch any more of it. I don't know if it's worth my time, but it definitely wasn't as bad as everybody was making out to be. Man, I really wanted to talk about the Wizards of the Coast stuff too, but I don't think that's happening. All right, well, with that, be bearing the small things, lean the light, and I will talk to you later.